Okay everyone, thanks for stopping by. Today's video is the second video in a short series, I suppose, of the install or the update of the projector DCDC charger, swapping it over for the Matson 30 amp variant, the MPPT controller on board, and switching over to the single solar panel rather than the two solar panels that I had on there previously, and getting the water tank up. So today's video is just going to be the solar panel and the water tank. If you're interested in having a look at the install or the swap over from the projector over to the Matson, there's a link up there for you. You can go check that out, or I'll put it down in the description as well. Now if you're interested in having a look at the install that I did originally of those, I'll put a link up there and you can go back and have a look at that. This is going to supersede that install. Basically what I'm going to be doing is pulling out the projector ID 25 and we're going to be putting the Matson in to replace that. Now there's a number of reasons why I'm swapping out the projector for the Matson. One, the Matson I found really cheap, and basically at the end of the day I think it's a better unit than the little projector is. The main reasons I went away from the projector and have gone with the Matson, or was looking at another unit, is one, I wanted something with a lithium profile. The Matson will handle anything up to a 50 volt input from the solar panels. Now that's the main reason I went with this, because what I'm going to do is swap over the 220 watt 12 volt solar panels for one 235 watt 24 volt panel, which has an output, or a normal output, around about 33 volts open circuit. So the projector wouldn't handle that. I think it was only capable of handling around about 26 volts input. With the two solar panels, they were sitting crosswise and were sitting high on top, and were resting on top of that top bar of the cage, which meant that if I was to put a kayak or something up on the roof, it would actually rest on the solar panels rather than resting on the roof cage itself. With a single solar panel, that now fits down into the cage, and I don't need to worry about putting my canoes and stuff up, canoes and kayaks back up on the top. I can do that and use that top bar to support those, and it also gives me the ability to put that 35 litre water tank back up in the roof cage. And I've got water for dog, and I've got water for me when we go camping, so that's it. Now because I haven't got a lot going on with the Pajero at the moment, I'm going to resort to doing a few more review videos. I've bought a bunch of stuff off eBay and stuff like that. It may or may not be stuff you're interested in, but I'm going to go and do a few of those videos just to keep the content coming until I need to do something else on the Pajero. One thing I'm hoping to do is, I've spotted somebody on Facebook who does custom snorkels, and they're kind of in my area. I'm going to get in touch with them and see whether they're interested in doing me up a custom snorkel for the Pajero, and if they're keen to let me film the process and take you guys through it, we'll do that. Whether they're going to be happy with that or not yet, I don't know at this point. The other thing, just an update on the M&M 4x4 torque lockup kit. That's out of the car at the moment. There was a firmware issue with it where it was had a parasitic draw and it was draining batteries. So mine is actually going back. I'm going to send that back tomorrow. Once we get that back, we'll install that back in the car. Then we'll try and get some temp readings and take the caravan for a tow. See if we can do some comparisons with the lockup kit. I've got to tell you already, without the lockup kit in the car today, I just took it for a decent drive, probably about 100 k's or so. I don't like it. I really like having the torque lockup kit. You really feel that up, you know, once you're getting up to speed, 60, 70, 80, up to 100, 110, it really feels like it locks in. You can feel that you push the foot down and it accelerates. Without that in there, it just feels sluggish and slow. It's a big difference, so I can't wait to get that back from Marshall, then get that back in the car, and then we'll do a follow-up video on that and give you some information on it. That's been a long time coming, but obviously with all the fires and that, we haven't had a chance to go camping, haven't had a chance to get the caravan out. That's about to change. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do some camping soon. Alright, let's get stuck into it. I need to get taller. As you can see, once that panel actually gets a clean up, it's going to fit just nicely into that tray, and have it mounted up just a little bit, and that'll give us room to put that water tank under that. We'll go from two panels which are 120 watts a piece at 12 volt. And this is actually a 235 watt panel, not a 250 that I might have said earlier, so it's a 235 watts. So I'm going to drop 5 watts. Be a better fit, I'll get the water tank and I'll get the use of the rack back. Bloody beauty. What I might do is going to take those panels off, so I need to undo these. So we've got that single panel up, we've got the two doubles off. I'll just plug that straight into the Anderson plug that we've got over there. We've got some action, so 13.4 volts, 13.3 volts going to the battery, about an amp, so it's about the same as we were seeing before. 33.3 and 0.4 of an amp, so higher voltage obviously, lower current, but we're still seeing about the same, so 13.3 and around about the 1 amp. Look, we've got very, very indirect sun, still overcast. All is overcast and the sun is up there, so we're getting some sort of sun but not a lot, so really keen to see how this goes once we get some decent sun. We're not really losing anything from switching over to the one panel, which is good. We're still seeing about the 1 amp going in, you know, under the same conditions that we were seeing in the 1 amp from the other 2 panels. Brilliant. If you remember the install video of this, I was using a similar setup to what I had for the solar panels, which was these turnbuckles. So we're pissing these off. I'm going to put an L bracket underneath the bottom of these and I just clamp it to the roof rack. That single solar panel is going to sit over the top of this. This does have threaded holes in the side, but they are only the plastic, and consequently they're only so deep. So I've only got, I don't know, 5 mil or something to play with depth wise. So I need to be very careful that these don't go any further than that. If you follow the channel, I think you've probably seen that drawer fridge that I've got in the bed there, in the, I guess, the camper build. Unfortunately, that's taken up the space where I used to have a 15 litre water tank. Just a little water drum that I used to keep there, which predominantly was used for, well, just washing hands and that sort of stuff. It was nice to have the water there, but really for when I took the dog with me or something like that, I always had water on hand, if I could just fill up his water bowl and give him a drink. Once you've had a convenience like a water tank or something like in a car, or certainly a fridge, it's very hard to go back and not have that convenience. And realistically, you've got all the stuff there to do it, well, wouldn't you? I know some people don't like the 30 litres of water sitting up on the roof, but I'm not going to give a rat's backside. You see people driving around with rooftop tents and all that sort of stuff. Doesn't matter. When I've had it up there, I didn't notice it in particular. One thing I did notice, and it was more about how I mounted it more than anything else, was that on four-wheel drive tracks, when I was pointing down, you know.
Yeah, just really slow down over that and you should be cool.
And I was hitting the brakes, the mounting mechanism I had didn't work. It started to shift. Didn't come out of the roof cage because I made sure it didn't, but it wasn't staying put, so we need to come up with a better solution for getting this mounted to the roof cage. What I need to do first is cut down some of this strap, cut a length of this, drill a hole in it, stick one of the Rivnuts in it, and these are going to be like the bottom of the clamp, and then I'm literally just going to place a bolt through the L bracket and down through this, and then going to use this as the clamp. The saw I'm going to be using at the moment is the Bosch reciprocating saw. This is something that they sent out to me for the purpose of review. Now I haven't had a chance to put it through its paces yet, basically because I haven't had any projects that warrant it. I've gone out and bought myself some Kango bits, and we're going to use this today. Now I also have one of these from Ozito that they sent out to me, so we're going to do a couple of cuts with this one, and we're going to do a couple of cuts with the Ozito one. I'll tell you straight up, the Bosch one is more powerful than the Ozito, but obviously there's a price difference. Let's start off with the Bosch, then we'll switch over. We'll use the same blades. We're going to switch over to the Ozito later on, but we're going to use the Bosch one to get started on these. Alright, so we're going to stick on the safety shades, and I'm not measuring this, I'm just going to cut some lengths. Nice, I probably could clamp this down a little bit, but anyway, that is what it is. I'm going to go about there. Straight up comparison, Bosch has got more power, works on higher revs as well than the Ozito. The Ozito is quite a bit lighter, so if you're a bit older, the Ozito might be handy for you to be able to operate and use. Still gets the job done, as you can see. albeit that I put myself in an awkward position with it. I also find the Ozito trigger system just that little bit easier to use. You can see that with one hand, where with the Bosch, because of the extra weight, you can do it, but it's definitely more of a two-handed tool, this one. If I was just doing something small around the house, from a price perspective, I'd grab the Ozito. If I need the extra grunt and I'm you know, demolishing a house or something significant, I'd be going with the Bosch. I can both handy, that's the way it is. Another tool I'm going to be making the most of is a drill, also sent out to me for the purpose of review from Bosch. In addition to being able to use as a regular driver, which I'm going to use that later on, what you can do is you unclip this bit, you take your bit out and you take that piece out, you get left with that, go and grab your drill head and that locks on, and now you're using it as a drill. So it's got a number of different settings here for screwing, drilling or driving. I do like it, it's very handy, but with the exception that sooner or later I'm going to put this down or the other piece down and it's going to be gone. I'm bloody hopeless with that sort of stuff. It does have a magnetic holder for your bits, so that's real handy. It's a really good idea, and it's handy if you just want the one tool and you don't want to, you know, splash out and get both tools. So you're definitely a money saving to be had there, but I think I'm going to end up losing that bit. I'm going to end up losing one of these, so I'm doing my best to put these together. Some way to mount that on the back of the battery or on the back somewhere so it can be kept as one unit would be handy. It doesn't have that, unfortunately. As far as power, it's excellent. It does have little switches on this side or this side for changing your direction, so you can flick that either way, and it's electronically controlled, so it's not like the push the button thing to switch over the mechanism or the driving. This one's electronic. You'll see there's a little arrow here on the back, so it doesn't matter which side I push, that'll change direction. So we'll go back and forward. Just going to drill some of these clamps and we'll see how we go. Yeah, really nice rig, really comfortable in the hand as well. Given the choice, I'm still going to have a bit driver, so I can be, you know, doing my screws and stuff like that, and a drill, two independent units. If I can't have that, this is an excellent option. These are steel Rivnuts that we're using here, so it was definitely a good decision on my behalf when I went out and spent the extra and got the king chrome bit for this type of mechanism. I do have a review of this, well, kind of a review on it. I'll put a link up there in the corner. It definitely makes the whole process just that much easier. I'd hate to be doing this with like one of the ones that looks like a bloody rivet gun. I just don't think I'd get it done. The secret with these is don't screw the Rivnut all the way down, give yourself a bit of space, and then what you'll find is you've got a bit of movement in these arms and get them a little bit closer together, and it just makes them easier to clamp down. We're done. 4 from 4. Now, I don't want any of these metal shavings being out for the dog because he's run around here. So, trusty old battery powered vacuum is going to come into its own today. Little four-legged mate, I don't want him getting those in his paws. A little Ozito 18 volt vacuum, bloody handy. Otherwise I would have had to go and run out the power cord and all that sort of stuff. I still use the Aldi one that I've got in the shed, for just in the shed because I can plug it in and it's closed. But anytime I'm doing something like this, I go and grab that little Ozito one, and yeah, bloody handy. I'm just going to use 2 on each side, so 4. See how that holds, and if we need to, we'll do another 4 later on. It was a lucky bit of forethought, otherwise I would have been trying to mount this bastard up, fighting with it later on. This one just operates like a lock nut to stop that getting any deeper. Just like that. So it's pretty nifty in theory. Let's see if it works in practice. So positioning wise, it looks okay. You can see one of them there. And we've got another one there, but there's 4 we need to worry about, obviously. You can see this is how I can fill it up. Just connect a regular garden hose up to here, open this nozzle. So basically this ends up being my breather. If I need to get a good amount of water out of this side, which is where the drain comes out or where the water comes out, what I do is I just come over here and I open this up, and this allows some air to come in from this higher corner, and that allows the water to run out. But typically for the cap does have a little breather in it, and that's enough if I just need a little bit of water. But if I need to pull out a lot of water, then I just open this here, and it allows the air to come in and the water to come out. Otherwise that just stays as a fill point. So what I've done is just, again, same as the old setup that I had. It's just put the nozzle here, so I can reach up, I've got a tap. Got 35 litres up there, so that's great. So it's nice to have an old friend back. I really, really like that. It's nice to wash your hands external to the vehicle. But the other real benefit is, get a water bowl for the dog. Enable to give me old mate a top up. Now, it's not that this job is particularly difficult, it's just been one of those ones that I've been putting off for a long time. Mainly because I didn't have the right solar controller that was going to handle the high level input of the panel that we're putting up here. I just wasn't sure how I was going to get it all mounted up. I was thinking about putting an additional rack in there, running, you know, cross beams or something like that, but ultimately this is, I think, going to work. I'm hoping it's going to be solid enough, and I guess we'll find out. We'll take it down some tracks, and we'll see if it's still up there when we get home. What I need to do now is just go around under the solar panel and just get it lined up so I've got some holes underneath it, so I can mark them, and then I'm going to drill some holes up into it. We're going to put some bolts into those, and that is how it's going to sit. And you can see it is just ever so slightly lower than the rack itself, which is probably a good height, so that'll keep the canoe on the rails of the rack itself without resting on the solar panel. The other good news is that's high enough that it's not going to get any shadow from the rails themselves when I'm just using it as a solar panel. I'm not using it to cart the canoe. And it's also high enough that we've got our water tank under there. It's offering some shade to the water tank, which is a good thing. It's not touching on anything here. So I'm reasonably happy with where that is. I probably could have gone down a smidge, but c'est la vie, it is what it is. So I've just got to go around and mark these. We're going to just have to lift up the solar panel, drill those holes where I've marked them, bolt it down, and the job is a good one. So that's it, battery's about to go flat, so I better say hooray. That's the water tank reinstalled, 35 litre water tank. I will put a link to the video of the original install of that, which will give a bit more details about the water tank, something I picked up second hand. We've now got a 24 volt panel, which is an old house panel, 235 watts instead of the 220 watt 12 volt panels. We've got the new Matson, whatever the model number is that, 30 odd amp, DCDC charger / MPPT solar controller. Straight off the bat, I can tell you that it seems to be doing a good job. It's switching between the alternator and the solar, and it's doing a pretty good job of that. I do need to learn how to navigate the menu, so I'll do a little bit of reading there. Shh, don't tell anybody, I don't want to lose my man card. One thing I have noticed though is it's noisy from an RF perspective. I had the handheld just near it in the back of the car, and there was a little bit of RF coming through it. Every time it was testing the battery, which was probably about every 30 seconds, maybe even less, it was putting out some RF on UHF, so we'll see how that goes, particularly if I go and play HF in the car or something like that, because there's going to be no real, I think I can put it in sleep mode, so we might have to look at that. Anyway, that's it. If you've got any questions, give me a shout, let me know. I'll do my best to get back to you. It might take me a little while to respond, but I'll do my best to get back to you and give you an answer. Keep it in mind, I'm just the guy that installed it. I don't know any specific details about the products that you can't probably look up online, but I have been hands-on, so if that's any help to you, drop me a comment, leave me a message, whatever, and I'll do what I can to help you out. That's it guys, thanks very much for stopping by. We'll catch you on the next one. See ya. You're fine.
Boring, mate, sorry.
Making it look a bit hard compared to the Pajero. Making it look a bit hard compared to the Pajero.